Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Brighton Chamber Podcast. My name is Grant Lefebvre, filling in for Rob Johnson, and we are here with Barb Vogelheim, State Farm Insurance agent. She's been with them for over 30 years. She's been on the corporate side. She's been an agent here local to Brighton, and we are going to talk about some insurance today. Barb, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And before we get into it, you are super involved in the community. And there's a giant sign right in between us that I know everyone can see right now if they're watching it. So let's talk about Believe in Brighton, and then we'll sort of get into some of what you're doing from there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well, you know what? With what everyone knows is happening with our downtown construction project, we wanted to actually try to do something that would help drive people downtown, while also giving them an opportunity to meet us, see what we're all about at State Farm in the Barb Vogelheim agency, maybe try to quote their insurance and give them an opportunity to get a really great value with us, while also having the incentive to maybe put a little money in their pocket to go downtown and spend at the downtown businesses, the restaurants, the shops, those folks that have really been struggling over the last few months in this construction project, and really try to, business to business, help each other out a little bit and see what we could do.
Definitely get some relief for that Main Street area, especially Absolutely. Right where it's heaviest.
Yeah, it's going to be fabulous, right? Mm-hmm. When it's done and it's available, and it's getting better and better every day, I think, right? We're seeing some really good progress, but in the meantime, we really want to try to do what we can to support those businesses as a small business owner ourselves, and really let them know that we're cheering for them and we're rooting for them, and we want to help people and we want to help them.
That's so awesome. That's
Thank
so
you.
awesome.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
we are going to have in the show notes, and we're going to plug it in at the end of the episode, how you can get involved, how you can help. And I guess talk to me about your involvement in the community. So because you're that's not the only thing you have going on. There's a couple plates in the air. So
yeah, there are.
I guess talk to me about some of the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I believe really strongly in trying to show up and be places where a lot of the youth of our community are. And so we have two daughters ourselves. One will be a senior at Brighton High School. One will be a freshman at Brighton High School. They've been involved in a lot of different sports around the community. So I took the opportunity to really collaborate and work with the Legacy Center. And I've got a big sponsorship down there that helps us be present in that environment as well, and really be active and show up and be around in all of the different sports that they've got going on down there, and really just take a chance to talk to parents and families when they're out and about at different tournaments or different events, and really try to boost what's going on down there with the youth, as well as a pretty strong presence and involvement with the Brighton High School. Our girls are volleyball players, so we've been pretty involved on the volleyball side, but we're getting more and more involved with the men and women's soccer team at Brighton High School and some other things going on there. So pretty excited about that, just to be around youth and to help them kind of think about what their future's like and how they can get involved in being financially fiscal, responsibly that way, make good decisions, and talk to their parents as well.
And start early.
Exactly right. Yeah. Starting in early is critical.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of education and helping the community, let's talk about insurance for small businesses a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go into every single detail, but I guess since we have you here, I wanted to ask about some things that small business owners, especially in Brighton, might want to know, might need to know for their coverage. Is there anything that we could, I guess, do to help them here on this podcast?
I think there are a couple of buckets that small businesses especially, and really anybody, needs to think about when it comes to insuring what they've got. Especially in the small business world, it's a lot of liability. Protecting themselves should they ever find themselves in a lawsuit for any reason. So there's that liability side of insurance that's always critically important to think about. Not always what comes top of mind. Usually it's their stuff. So for small businesses, you're usually thinking about and talking about their building being covered the way that they want it to be covered, their inventory or whatever it may be whatever their product is. So what kind of product coverage do they have? And then there's that liability liability side. So I think those two go hand in hand. There's a lot of different specialty coverages that come into play, but that is on a case-by-case conversation when you're talking to a small business person to really ask what's most important to them. What are they most concerned about? What are their greatest risks? And when you have that conversation, then you can start peeling back that onion a little bit and finding out what coverage is best for them.
Excellent. Yeah, there's no such thing as one size fits all.
Not at all.
For those businesses.
Not at all. Yeah, no.
So speaking of like getting the right coverage, talk about some of the things that people either underinsure or some of the things that they might not think to get coverage for. What are some ways we can kind of help people out, myself included? I'm taking notes as we're doing this. So I also would like to know.
I will say I didn't set you up for this softball, but I feel like it might be a little bit of a softball. I would tell you that I believe people underinsure their lives and their ability to protect their income. So when it comes to insurance, car insurance, home insurance, most people are thinking about they have to have that coverage. They can't get their tags at the Secretary of State unless they walk in with their insurance ID card, right? They can't get that mortgage for their home unless they prove that they've got it insured because the bank wants to make sure that that home is insured as well. And those things are important. Don't get me wrong, right? When we talk about the car insurance, we at my office, we always talk about 3 different ways that you need to be protected, right? How are you protected if you are injured in a car accident? So we'll talk about that in a second. How you're protected if you're sued from damages that you cause in a car accident, and then how your car is insured and protected if it gets damaged. So the car part is kind of aggravating some of those bigger losses that you have exposure to, lawsuits, major medical needs after car accidents. Are devastating. They can leave families and households devastated financially if they're not protected properly. So that leads us into a conversation to really talk about in the unforeseen event that, God forbid, something worse happens than just your car getting banged up, right? If you get pretty banged up and you're left with significant medical injuries for your life, and you can't work anymore, what does that look like from protecting your income, your paycheck to your household from a disability standpoint? Or far worse, if anything were to be worse from that, then how is your family protected? And what is that devastating loss to them if there's premature loss of life? So we have a lot of those conversations. People think that they really only need the car insurance, the home insurance. And when we really peel it back for them, we help them understand that there's a lot more to what they need to be thinking about. And that, there's financial devastation that could occur if they're not protected properly. And that's the conversation we want to have.
Hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst.
Absolutely. That's what insurance is really. You could probably find that in the definition of of insurance a little bit.
I stole it from the. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. So speaking of getting covered for auto, what's the difference between covering something that, is more of an antique or heirloom, something you're going to keep mostly in storage, versus covering a car that you're going to drive every day, just because we have so many different uses for the different vehicles we have?
Right. Well, the antique vehicle in storage is really that comprehensive coverage only, typically. And that is just saying that while it is stored, you still have protection for fire, theft, vandalism, those types of coverages while it's in storage. Antique vehicles have a little bit of specialty to them. Sometimes they are stated value vehicles. So there's a little bit more particulars around an antique classic kind of car than just a normal everyday car that we're driving on the road. So the coverages that the state requires you to have while you're driving vehicles, that liability, that personal injury protection coverage, if you have a loan or if you have a lien holder or you lease that vehicle, then obviously the banks are going to require you to carry collision coverage. So if that car is damaged, it's going to get fixed and brought back to the state that it was in prior to that accident. And then that comprehensive coverage as well. So there's a lot more coverages that need to be in place on that car that you're driving on the road, unless it's an older vehicle. You hear in the state of Michigan, a lot of people talk about PLPD, minimum coverage. That's basically no collision. It could be no comprehensive coverage, which is that fire, theft, vandalism, glass breakage, windshield coverage. We always include that in as well in the PLPD. So storing a vehicle is literally just that. You want to protect it for things that could happen while it's sitting in a garage being covered as that antique classic in a way that is not going to have as much exposure if it's on the road.
Excellent. Yeah, no, just locking your door is protected. It's just another form of protection.
Completely.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah, completely.
So I'm skipping around our questions a little bit.
That's
so
okay.
I was curious because I saw that I know this isn't your main thing, but talking about insuring pets. That's such an interesting one for me because I had heard about it, but I don't know anything about it. So what is pet insurance and what does it mean?
Pet insurance is something that's relatively new to us at State Farm. We partner with a company called Trupanion. They're a pretty well-known pet company out there in the marketplace. And it literally, I will tell you, we have found that if you start insurance on your pet, the younger the pet is, the more maybe affordable it may seem. But one of the best components of a Trupanion pet policy is that it's got a one-time deductible for each medical type of occurrence. So if your dog has hip issues and it's ongoing for a few years, then you pay that one deductible as long as each time you're paying for something, it's due to that hip. If something else were to come up or to occur, then maybe you have to start that deductible over. But it's literally kind of think of it like a major medical plan for your pet. And there's a lot of people who are interested in taking care of them because they are definitely very much a part of their family. So. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. I was wondering, I was like, if my cat slips off the couch, is he going to file a claim or something? I don't right? Yeah, no, but that is awesome. So speaking of like just education and all the different facets about insurance, where is there a good resource people can go to? Where would you point someone who's just trying to find the right coverage for them, just trying to get a better understanding of being covered in general?
Yeah, I think it starts with a great conversation. A lot of people, the statistics will show you that people will research insurance online. They'll go online to maybe start a quote or to start looking at coverage. But ultimately, the vast majority of those people who start looking online end up calling an actual insurance agency and having that conversation. That's where I feel like we really work hard to set ourselves apart in my agency, is to really have that holistic approach in that conversation and making sure that we're asking all of those questions and we're getting people to really think about what would happen in their household if they had specific kinds of loss that maybe they've never been forced to think about before. And so obviously calling our office, going to our website, reaching out to us, and giving us that opportunity to really earn their business by the way that we treat them and have that conversation up front, I think is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, it seems to me to be a difficult subject too, because it's a lot of serious conversations, a lot of thoughts people would rather push away.
Correct.
So if anyone's on the fence or, oh yeah, I've been meaning to look into this, like, I guess what would you say to say, hey, let's take this step and at least have this discussion about it?
Well, I tell them exactly that. Insurance is, can be a complex issue. Our job is to help simplify it and make it easy to understand for people. And really, whether it's just, trying to get the least expensive auto quote they can find, or most people don't think they need insurance. It is at times topics that they don't want to think about. They don't think anything's ever going to happen to them. We live in a world where we know it happens to people all the time. We see it happen all the time. Knowing that we're there to help them in their most desperate time and need is an incredibly fulfilling role that I think we play. 32 years ago when I got into this business, never did I think that I thought insurance, boring. What is it like, but here I am realizing that it's a pretty noble profession and it's important that somebody is in their corner, for them, helping them through that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like a people business for all the complexities.
Completely is. Yeah.
Is that, so what did, I guess I'm going off the rails here. I guess what did draw you to it initially?
Well, initially I was young. And I was in between completing my college degree. And at first I needed a job.
Understood.
And where I grew up in the state of Indiana, in the town that I grew up in, it was one of the best employers out there. So I literally just started at the most entry level with the company just to secure a job and have an income. And over time, as I grew to learn more, and I moved over to the agency side of the business, the people side of the business, where we really get to help people, I fell in love. I really just recognized the total difference between what it means to just help somebody save money and what it means to really be there and help them in their greatest time.
Absolutely, like that advocacy,
Completely,
that just being in someone's corner, just knowing that they can call you and have somebody.
We shoot for those kinds of relationships. We're not always perfect. We don't always get it right, but we desperately are wanting to build those relationships with those families and help them throughout different stages of their life.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask this question too. So in insurance commercials and things, people share these kind of crazy stories about just weird stuff that'll happen that there isn't exactly a dictionary definition for. So is there anything like that you want to share of a time when you've been able to help someone, or a time when something just off the wall has happened and you've been there as an agent for someone?
Yeah, there's been a lot of those times. I can think some of the most important times I feel as an agent that it's important to be there for families are house fires. They can absolutely be completely devastating. I've had several house fires here in the local area in the last couple of years and have been able to be there for those families several times while the fire trucks are still there. I get the phone call and I pack up and I go. But probably one of the most unique stories along that line is several years back, I actually was on the management side of State Farm. I wasn't an agent at that time, and I had taken the day off. And I had been to a store, and I was walking out of the store, and I look across the street, and there's a house literally burning, completely engulfed in flames. I could hear the sirens of the trucks coming. And in the back of my mind, I know that 1 out of 5 homes are insured by State Farm. And so I literally got in my car and I thought to myself, what are the chances that house is a State Farm house? And so having not showered yet that morning, not having any State Farm apparel on, I did have my State Farm ID in my car with me, and I literally went across the street, and it was an elderly gentleman who had found himself out of his home. They had gotten him out of the house. And I just walked up to him and I asked him, I said, "Who are you insured with?" And he said, "State Farm." And he gave me his agent's name, who I happened to work with. And I just gave him a hug and I said, "I am with State Farm. I know your agent. I will get him here immediately." And I said, what do you need?" And we cut them a check immediately so that they're able to, as they're watching all of their personal belongings burn to the ground, they're able to get clothes, they're able to get shelter and find a place to stay. And we set them up immediately, which it's not going to take care of the immediate problem, but it's certainly going to take a lot of stress off their shoulders knowing that they don't have to think about some of those details, and we help them step through those as much as we can.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for being a good neighbor.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's exactly what we are.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So as we move to wrap up here, I want to talk a little bit more about this and just how awesome this is, just because, what's going on in downtown. It's like it's progressing very, very well, but at the same time, it is important that we support our small businesses too. So let's do one more time. How can people learn more? How can people get involved?
Yeah. I think if you start walking around the streets of downtown Brighton, you're going to start to see these posters, many, many businesses, restaurants, shops, things like that. Reach out to us. Give us a call. If you've already got State Farm agent with another one of our awesome local agents, that's fine. That's perfectly great. If you want to refer a friend or a family member to us just to be able to have that conversation that we spoke about, we're happy to give out those gift cards. We have certainly invested quite a bit of money into those gift cards already, so we want to see them be spent. We want to give them out. So call us at our office number. Can I?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Our office number is 810-229-9338. I try to tag everything with yourbrightonagent.com. That is a direct website to us, yourbrightonagent.com. And it's probably the best way to reach out to us. Give us a call, get a quote from us. Let's see if we can share our value with you, if we can earn your business. But even if we can't, we're going to give you that gift card and hope you go spend it in Brighton and cheer on those businesses that have been struggling for the last several months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love to see it, getting out there, supporting small businesses. It's what this podcast is about. So
great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've had a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Barb. So we are going to be back next week, and we'll have a fresh episode for you then. So take care.